I'm finally doing a little bit more art this few days, especially with Inktober. I think it's been really good. This is the sketch I'm trying to do as a submission for Singapore Sketches exhibition for 2024. Let me read you the little poem that I wrote. Fat bird, joyous song, Botero's plum, happy art. River's gentle flow. All right, one of the things that I'm trying to do with this is it's slightly bigger than the A4 sketch. I won't be using my pen for this one. It's going to be pencil and then throw in a lot of wild colors. That's the plan at this point, at least. All right, so Botero has this famous bird. I think it's a pigeon. It's just right along next to Singapore River. It's also next to UOB Plaza where I used to work. In fact, this is the sort of statue I would see every work day. I'm not always there, but that's a very familiar sight. I actually like the fact that there's this guy that's standing behind, hiding under the behind of the bird, in the shade, and reading his, probably email or text messages or whatever it may be. So yeah, that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna put in some of the token objects around the statue, and we're gonna just smash in using colors to make it fun. The sketch itself is very simple. Now, if you anyway, let's talk about the colors. All right. So when it comes to color, the way I intend to do it is to do it in the style of a radiating sort of lines. I've done this many times before. You've seen in some of my postcards and so on. In fact, I've done it in one of my sketch for this, but from a different angle of the statue, a bit more front facing, facing the beak as opposed to the side. Um, as you can see, it's a little bit of a lemon yellow, a bit of new gamboge, a little bit of cobalt, a little bit of quinacridone rose, all thrown in with a very diluted version of it. And it's sort of random in some ways. The thickness is somewhat random, although not quite, because I'm using only one size of the brush, so it does look almost similar. But one of the idea is that be random in all the parameters, the size, the colors, the shape, except to make it radiating, and that's the underlying sort of design, if you like. The next would be to go in very, very bold with a small brush. In this case, cadmium orange, and I am trying to sort of depict certain lines. For example, some of the negative shape of the statue, or maybe the negative shape of the base of the statue, and some of the objects as well. And splatter, you can't do without splatter. It's always fun to splatter. And then some dark using Carbozel Violet. I'm getting to really like this color, as you can see, using it for a lot of my sketches. Well, partly because I'm too lazy to mix my favorite violet with purple, which is permanent alizarin crimson with French ultramarine. But anyway, it's just a single color, single pigment, throw in pretty dark, not the darkest of the lot, but yeah, it's okay. All right, so with that, you could see that the foundation of the radiating line hidden by somewhat the other sort of lines, especially the darks, and the splatter, trying to camouflage the radiating line, if you like. At this point, I'm just trying to take a bit more of the moisture away, not having the paint to run around too much. Okay, so far so good. According to plan, that is. Okay, the bird has very, very contrasty, shadows or colors, if you like. It's kind of like a bronze slash, almost blackish sort of color, but I intend to make it very, very purple, because a bit of the background is yellow or very sunlit color, and it's so splashy and bright. A bit of a purple wouldn't hurt. That's intent. And the way I'm thinking while I'm laying down this color is basically the edges. I'm trying to design each of the shape of the edges. There'll be sharp, hard edges, and there'll be soft edges, and hopefully I will throw in a few of the missing or lost edges as well. Well, this process sometimes takes a fair amount of time and a bit of thinking on your feet, if you like. And remember to throw in more paint than it seems, because you really should not go too light. Once it's dry, it's a bit harder to throw in more paint without making it look ghastly or seems overworked. So while it's wet, keep throwing at the paint. The more they have, the more they need it. So the less they have, the less you want to give them. So that's how I'm thinking about pigment and color at this point. I'm leaving a bit of the sort of between the two slabs of the base. And that little bit of color that sort of shows through will give an inkling of the radiating line. Believe it or not, your eyes are pretty good at being detective. And once it sees a little bit, it can sort of pattern recognize a bit more than what we allow them or what we think they will do. So, trust that the eyes will see it. And I'm working on a little bit more of the value. If you look at the photograph, the values are, important. And so you want to make sure that you read the value as much as possible. Make sure your audience can see the shape, but at the macro level. One of the things I try to avoid is having the color green. There's a bit of it because I have accidentally mixed cobalt with some of my yellow, but as far as you can avoid in a sketch of a splashy color like this, try to avoid the color green. The reason for that is because without green, the color will look somewhat unified. There's sort of everything under the rainbow, but no green, if you like. So, but use values to sort of guide your sketch and the way you're going about it. In other words, think in value. Allow the colors to just go wild. I mean, this is really color substitution at its best or worst, depending on how you see it. Yeah, but at all time, if your value is getting accurate, the shape of the sketch will come true. Everything else, let go, let it be play. Just enjoy the process. I'm also using a bit of a thin line to guide the eyes a little bit. The lines define the shape a little bit more, separate some of the shapes from each other, and it gives a little bit more definition to the sculpture. Okay, so the sketch is taking shape. I'm just gonna sit back, take a bit of time, think about it a little bit. Oftentimes in watercolor, if you don't have patience, you will just lose it. So I highly suggest that you learn to have patience, and persevere. In other words, you need to know how much moisture there are on the paper and how much you can afford to throw in, or maybe you shouldn't. And the problem is that once you throw in a certain color or maybe put your brush down and it touches a very wet patch, you really can't control the pigment at that point. So you need to read the moisture pretty well, in other words, and have patience. I mean, if you're gonna layer your watercolor, make sure you give it ample time or sufficient time between the layering process. Otherwise, you end up with very smudgy and very muddy looking watercolor. If you want it bright, you might just lose the entire bit brightness to your impatient. So now I'm basically just doing texturing and a little bit of the minor subject, if you like. There's a bit of abstraction at play. In other words, I'm not doing reality, so to speak, but I'm using reality to trigger some kind of a illusion, if you like. I mean, in this case, I'm trying to create space between the two banks of the river. It is not going to be very sharply defined. It's not going to be very accurate. It's just going to be hint. And I'm using abstraction to hint. at the far bank and the near bank. While you're at this, just remember that it is okay to have a color and shape run into each other in terms of the color. It's perfectly all right. I mean, it's play, and it should show that it's playful, it's fun, and so on. Excuse Cassie's barking. I think she's got something that's of interest to her. Anyway, that I think that's it. That's about it. We're gonna put in the eyes, and I think that's it for this sketch. I hope you enjoy this. Stay safe wherever you are. This is my submission to Singapore Sketches 2024 submission. It's called the UOB Fatbird.